Mountains of trouble. Taiwan's trash problem is in the spotlight as rubbish heaps grow. A campaign funding scandal. Taiwan People's Party leader Wen-je brushes off campaign fraud allegations. A brewing labor right movement. After firefighters, Taiwan's prison staff are demanding better workplace safety. Plus, upheaval in Thailand's politics as Prime Minister Seta Thavisin is removed from office. Welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yvonne. Mountains of trash are piling up across Taiwan, and the country's waste incinerators are at capacity. With little movement in the legislature on the issue, activists are demanding action from the country's cabinet. Chris Gorin reports.
Dressed head to toe in garbage and tired of inaction, these protesters say they're waiting for a meeting with Taiwan's premier Zhuo Tai. They want answers about a nationwide problem: trash mountains. Taiwan produces so much trash that its waste incinerators can't keep up. And the trash is piling up in temporary dumps, 1 to 2 stories high, while waiting to be burned. The trash mountains can be smelled from a long way away, pollute local water resources, and create fire hazards. One 10-meter tall trash mountain in northern Taiwan recently caught fire for the second time in less than 8 months. And activists say they've had enough.
其实这个问题非常严重，再不从根本去解决的话，全台可能就会堆出越来越多的垃圾山，还有现在的垃圾山可能也只会越来越高。
There are at least 107 of these temporary trash dumps spread throughout the country, and they're estimated to hold 840,000 tons of garbage, equal to the weight of nearly 8.5 Nimitz-class aircraft carriers. And the problem is likely to get worse, as the average amount of trash each person in Taiwan produces is actually increasing. And government officials don't paint a rosy picture.
我们到底什么时候可以把暂存场能够降到去化掉？那这个还要几年的时间。
This hazy time frame is why these activists want a meeting with the premier. And while Zhuo didn't show up himself, other cabinet staff did.
应该是这样讲哈，就是说，其实我们非常重视这个问题，所以
院长本人也很重视吗？
对，所以呢，
那他可不可以出来，让我们递交这个？可以帮我们去请他吗？ 这样就好了。
But the protesters found the response lacking.
我们觉得不满意啊。我们认为这样子的答复呢，其实是不够的。为什么？因为其实，在我们做出这样子的沟通之后，行政院的表示呢是说会交代环境部来邀请我们一起去视察垃圾山。其实我们这边没有得到任何的邀请，没有得到任何的这个通知，要一起去见证这个垃圾山的状况，所以让在地的居民他们的心声其实都没有办法传达出去。
The premier may not have answered questions from activists this time, but with years of trash still left to burn, neither these trash mountains nor the public pressure to deal with them are going away. Chris Ma and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
The leader of the Taiwan People's Party is brushing off a fraud scandal that's engulfing his party. Wen-je has addressed the allegations that his party falsely reported political expenses during his presidential campaign. Rick Lauer has more.
Well, the pressure is piling on Kerr. He's facing mounting allegations and investigations into his presidential run, where he took on Taiwan's 2 main political parties and upset the 2-party system here in Taiwan. The message from him today is basically, bring it on. I've got nothing to hide. But of course, the pressure is mounting over that $500,000 of political funds that weren't properly declared. And the controversy has already taken in people connected to his campaign. There's been people called in for questioning. Offices have been raided, and his political number 2, a woman named Vivian Huang, she has stepped down from her leadership position of the party. As you can imagine, reporters have been following Kerr today. They asked him what he thinks about the investigations and if it can be considered a political witch hunt.
主席会不会担心被约谈？
约谈也很正常，也没有什么。如果中华民国政府效率都这么高，我们是很乐见，还是有信心的。因为我们这边这样，每一笔支出都有凭证嘛。
So what next for Kerr and his political party? Well, of course, the first thing we're going to be looking out for is whether he is indeed called in for questioning, and then whether he's listed as a defendant in any case that's brought. Meanwhile, support for his political party, the TPP, is slumping. That party, they hold the balance of power in Taiwan's legislature. They've been working together with the main opposition party, the KMT, to pass controversial reforms that are going after the executive branch. Kerr himself, he's a bit of a rising star. People have been looking at him as a serious contender for the 2028 presidential elections. All of that political ambition, of course, now at risk as the net continues to tighten around him. Justin Wu and Rick Lowett in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A labor rights movement started by firefighters is gaining momentum. Prison staff are the latest civil servants to join their calls for reforms. Their key demand is a law change that would give them the same workplace protections as ordinary workers. John Van Trieste explains.
Small but determined, a group of public sector workers gathers on this gray Taipei morning to air old grievances and make new demands. They represent a growing range of public employees who say they deserve the same health and safety protections private workers enjoy. With only a few exceptions, Taiwan's Occupational Safety and Health Act does not apply to civil servants. The government has made some concessions, at least for the firefighters who kicked this labor movement off after a fatal factory fire last year. But one firefighter here says that so far, changes to the law have been inadequate.
面对地方政府没有给我们消防员足够的装备时，没有罚则。再来，没有检举以及保护吹哨者的机制。这个消防法的治安篇章漏洞百出。
Police, legal clerks, and others say they're even more exposed, and the range of public workers calling for change is growing. Today, new allies, prison workers, are on the scene. They say that like the prisoners they watch, they aren't allowed air conditioning, all while having to walk the equivalent of 15 kilometers a day on patrols. And they say they face violence from prisoners and even revenge attacks from those who've been released. Prison staff have been assaulted with everything from chopsticks to hot water.
徒手啦，或是有些会持器具，比如说磨尖的筷子，或者是他们会藏一些地上捡到什么一些危险物品。 之后他们会在地上这样整天磨成尖的，好，只要是任何塑胶物品或是一些稍微硬的东西，他们都可以磨尖做成武器，那会藏在身上。
Today, this group has proposed two small changes to the wording of the Safety and Health Act that would make it explicitly cover all public sector workers. TaiwanPlus reached out to the Labor Ministry's Occupational Safety and Health Administration and the Civil Service Ministry for comment on these changes, but didn't receive a response. While turnout has been small today, this group is trying to put pressure on officials to make sure the proposal isn't ignored. Activists here have organized a rally later this month that they say will be much bigger. So far this year, 10 police officers, 2 firefighters, 1 judge, 1 legal clerk, and 1 prison worker have died, either in the line of duty or from suicide. These protesters plan to mourn their fallen colleagues, but also to mobilize. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taneti Mamao, the pro-China president of Kiribati, retained his seat in Wednesday's parliamentary election. His rival, opposition leader Tessie Lamborn, also won a seat with just over 50% of the vote. Mamao is seeking a third term as the Pacific Island country's president later this year. If re-elected, it would signal an endorsement of his policies, which have seen Kiribati switch diplomatic recognition from Taiwan to China. Thailand's ruling political party, the Pheu Thai, has met to choose a successor to lead the country. That's after Thailand's top court removed the party's Seta Thavisin as prime minister, saying the realistic tycoon broke ethics rules by appointing a convict to the cabinet. The dismissal adds to running political drama in Thailand, and a new leader must now be voted in from the pool of candidates from last year's elections. For more on Thailand's search for a new leader, Joyce Dunn speaks with political scientist Punchada Sirivanabud in Bangkok.
With the Pheu Thai party's Seta Thavisin now removed as prime minister, what is the process for Thailand to choose its new leader, and how soon can we expect for this to happen?
This is kind of surprising because we thought that it's going to take some time, but it seems like the Thai party, call all the member of MP and also other political party in the coalition government to meet with Thaksin Shinawatra yesterday at night. It's kind of an emergency because, most of the Thai parties and Seta himself, I think they thought that they are going to survive and Seta can continue to be in power. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, they call for the parliament meeting to select and to vote for the prime minister. Thai want to put forward a lot of policy at this time. For example, the digital wallet, the soft power policy, and also the 400 baht for the new labor wage. And they're trying to push all this kind of policy as soon as possible.
And what are Pheu Thai's chances at keeping the top seat?
For tomorrow meeting, I think that Pheu Thai will definitely control the seat for Chai Kasem because Pheu Thai got a large number of seats. I don't think that there are going to be any problem. I think Pheu Thai can also negotiate with other political party as well, and also the pro-military political parties.
Prime Minister Seta's dismissal is the second major constitutional court ruling in just 2 weeks. The court also ordered the anti-establishment Move Forward Party, which won last year's general elections, to disband. What do you make of these decisions and the direction for Thai politics?
Seta and Move Forward Party should not be dissolved by the court because, they were in power because they get a large number of votes and support from the people. For the Move Forward, they got elected and they got a large number of seats by, a large numbers of voters across Thailand. The same as Seta, he became the prime minister because he was nominated by the party that, I would say that have a chance to form the coalition government, and they won the second largest parties in the last election. These politicians, they are from the people, they are the representative of the people. So if you can have some kind of court to do whatever, to disband them or to kick them out of the politics, I don't think it's a good thing for the democratic development in the long run.
That was Joyce Sun speaking with political scientist Punchada Sirivanabud in Bangkok. Coming up after the break, a transgender plaintiff's struggle for recognition. Stay tuned to TaiwanPlus News.
We bring you stories from Taiwan.
Every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? On TaiwanPlus.
Feeling salty? Don't worry, we got you. For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, visit TaiwanPlus.com.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. A Taipei court has ruled against a transgender woman's request to change her gender identity on personal documents without undergoing surgery or a psychiatric evaluation. Irene Ling reports from Courthouse.
A setback for Taiwan's transgender community today, as the Taipei High Administrative Court has denied a transgender woman named Vivi the right to change her gender identity on government IDs without undergoing gender-affirming surgery or a psychiatric evaluation. This is what her legal team has to say.
那么律师团这一边，应该会针对这个判决去做上诉。因为我们还是认为在这个案件之中，我们的当事人其实。他也没有医疗上的需求。如果强迫一个没有医疗需求的人去看医生，去拿证明， 我们觉得其实是一件非常奇怪的事情。
The plaintiff Vivi was suing the government to waive the current legal requirements for her case. She insisted on providing only daily life photos of her and statements from her mother and friends as evidence. Her team argues that being transgender is not a mental condition. They say more than 20 countries, including Spain and New Zealand, have already granted individuals full freedom in choosing gender markers, and that Taiwan should follow suit. The judge says today that the evidence provided by Vivi is difficult to use an objective proof of her identity, meaning that some form of medical evaluation is still required. Now, this is just a ruling of a single case. There's no precedent in Taiwanese law, meaning that until the law is changed, each individual can fight their own case. But it's undoubtedly a big disappointment for those hoping this case could provide a breakthrough for Taiwan's transgender community. Many don't have the time or the resources to fight lengthy legal battles, and rulings like today's show that there are no quick fixes in gaining easy legal recognition for transgender people. Luffy Lee and Irene Lin in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
And for more, our reporter Irene Lin spoke to the plaintiff, Vivi, about her reaction to the ruling and what more needs to be done in the future.
Vivi, the court has ruled that you would need one psychiatrist instead of the legally required two to prove that you're a woman. How do you feel about that?
我觉得感觉蛮复杂的，因为觉得说好像法官还是要求说跨性别者的性别认同要被肯定的话，还是需要有精神科医师的诊断。那这样子好像又把跨性别就是归类在就是需要被医生诊断，然后好像是一种疾病吗？或者是一个很特殊的状况？因为现在已经说不需要手术，就是手术已经是违反人权，甚至是非必要的。但如果既然是这样的话，那为什么就是我现在的状态其实是一个稳定的认同，但是又需要透过医生诊断，我才能被承认我的法定性别是性别认同是一个女生这样子。
What are your next steps following today's ruling?
因为现在是停在高等行政法院，那我们会再继续上诉到最高行政法院。对，那如果最高行政法院还是败诉的话，那我们就会就是再上诉到宪法法庭那边去。对，就会去申请大法官释宪。
The successful rulings in the past were all judged on a case-by-case basis, and the actual legal process for someone to change their ID genders has not caught up with these decisions. How do you think your case will make a difference?
就像现在，其实我在打这个诉讼案，其实是一个算是策略性诉讼，希望可以推动政府去更正视跨性别的状况。对，但是就是因为行政跟立法就是一直不作为，所以跨性别者的权益就会更往后被推迟到更后面去，因为大家觉得这个不重要。但是因为社会大众没办法接受，就是因为教育还有这些法律根本就没有去好好正视跨性别者，所以就是导致这些一直在进行一个循环。
That was transgender plaintiff Vivi speaking from Taipei on her legal battle to change her gender marker. A magnitude 5.7 earthquake rattled eastern Taiwan on Thursday evening. Alerts were sent to the public, warning people to keep calm and seek cover. According to the Central Weather Administration, the tremor struck just off the coast of Taiwan's eastern county of Yilan, with shaking felt across central and northern parts of the main island. Currently, there are no reports of damage or injuries. Bangladesh's Hindus say they've become the target of politically motivated mobs. In the weeks since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was ousted, there have been at least 200 attacks on Hindus and other religious minorities in the country. Gina Lopez reports.
A mother and daughter, distraught, as they take in what's left of their house in the Bangladeshi capital Dhaka, ransacked and burned by an angry mob. This is just one of the many incidents of violence that the country's Hindu minority has faced, following the ouster of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina.
They are shivering. Every family, everywhere, even in Dhaka who are in the flats, they are shivering.
Since the Prime Minister fled the country after weeks of violent protests, the anger against her here has turned to the Hindu population, who are seen as supportive of the former leader's political party. Of Bangladesh's 170 million people, only 8% are Hindu. But in this largely Muslim nation, they've historically backed Hasina's Awami League, which presents itself as a more secular party and friendlier towards the Hindus, in contrast to hardline Islamist politicians. Since Hasina's departure, around 200 attacks by mobs against Hindu homes, businesses, and temples have been recorded. But political analysts say the animosity doesn't stem from religion.
So there are a few Hindu, they are Awami League leaders. They hold some positions in the Awami League. That's the major cause for these attacks. It's not religiously motivated.
In response, Bangladeshi Hindus have taken to the streets demanding justice and the government's protection, while young Muslim community members called for volunteers to help defend Hindu temples against further attacks. The current interim government has denounced the violence and vowed to conduct an investigation.
মনে করি যে এই ধরনের ঘটনার সাথে জড়িত থাকবে তাকে বিচারের আওতায় আনতে হবে এবং এখানে সংখ্যালঘু সম্প্রদায়ের প্রতিও আমাদের আহ্বান থাকবে যে আপনারা আশ্বস্ত থাকুন যে বাংলাদেশের মানুষ বাংলাদেশের সরকার অবশ্যই আপনাদের পাশে এসে দাঁড়াবে.
And many other Bangladeshis have come forward too, standing united with their Hindu neighbors, determined to rise as one above the violence and the fear of these chaotic times. Devin Tai and Gina Lopez for TaiwanPlus.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed concern for Hindus in neighboring Bangladesh during a speech for his country's 78th Independence Day.
140 करोड़ देशवासियों की चिंता कि वहां हिंदू, वहां के अल्पसंख्यक, उस समुदाय की सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित हो.
Modi's remarks in Delhi comes as Bangladesh undergoes a transfer of power following weeks of deadly protests. Some of the country's Hindu minority have been targeted during the unrest. India and its neighbor Pakistan are celebrating the end of British colonial rule on the Indian subcontinent in 1947. It's been 77 years since the two rivals divided up the former British Raj. As India and Pakistan celebrate 77 years of independence, communities in the disputed Kashmir region face an uncertain future. 25 years after a major war, its people are still wondering when they'll see their loved ones again. Bryn Thomas reports.
For Ghulam Ahmad, visiting his mother's grave means getting a visa, crossing the border into Pakistan, and traveling over 2,500 kilometers through rough terrain. It's a long, hard, and pricey way to get to something that is really just a day's walk away. Like many people in his village in Indian-controlled Kashmir, Ahmad's family has been divided by one of India and Pakistan's many border conflicts.
मैं तो हमारे तो माँ उधर था, बाप भी उधर होकर जंग में अचानक लड़ी होने से माँ बाप दोनों उधर फंस गया था. फंसने के बाद में 4-5 साल से पहला पासपोर्ट बना, इंटरनेशनल पासपोर्ट. मैंने वीज़ा लाकर दिल्ली से वीज़ा लाकर वहाँ अमृतसर से जाकर मिल कर आया उनसे. बाद में तो इधर पहुँचकर 1 साल के बाद तो वो दोनों गुजर गया, चीटी पहुँच गया. माँ भी गुजर गया, बाप भी गुजर गया वहाँ. फिर तब से कोई नहीं मिला.
Muslim-majority Pakistan and predominantly Hindu India are both celebrating 77 years of independence on August 14th and 15th. The two have fought 3 major wars since the Indian subcontinent was partitioned between them at the end of British colonial rule in 1947. Decades on, they remain at odds over control of mainly Muslim Kashmir, a region claimed in its entirety by both. For years, its villages and the families living in them have been divvied up between India and Pakistan by a heavily militarized informal border along the Indus River called the Line of Control.
मिलने की ख्वाहिश तो सबको होती है, सच रिश्तेदार है. मुझे तो अभी इतना ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो रहा क्योंकि मुझे अब तक मैंने मामू को देखा ही नहीं है. लेकिन मेरे माँ ने हर वक्त कभी कभी रोते ही रहते हैं क्योंकि वो अपनी पूरे फैमिली से बिछड़ के बैठे हुए हैं.
It's been over a quarter century since the two nuclear-armed states last came to blows, when India regained control of Kargil region after a 10-week war, setting Kashmir's current boundary. But for people in Kashmir, the checkpoints and fortifications mean the threat of war is never far from their minds.
हमें अभी तक तो कोई ऐसा ही नहीं मिला क्योंकि हमने जो फौजी का ये रुझान देखता है कि बहुत से पोजीशन अच्छा स्ट्रॉन्ग करता है. इससे हमें पता चलता है कि इन दोनों से मिलने का ये कोई उम्मीद ही नहीं.
With little headway made toward resolving the deeply contentious border dispute that divides Kashmir, Families separated by the line of control are left to communicate over the internet. While it's a sign that the communities are becoming less isolated, for people living here on the Indian side, it's a poor substitute to meeting face to face.
हमारे यहाँ बिग बॉर्डर में चेकिंग करने वाला रखो, वहाँ का रिश्तेदार है तो यहाँ मिल कर जाओ, यहाँ से रिश्तेदार वहाँ मिल कर आ जाओ, कोई तो नहीं मिल कर रिश्तेदार मार गया, बहुत सा आदमी मार गया, नहीं मिल कर क्या करेगा?
After 77 years of independence and 25 years of relative peace, Kashmir still faces an uncertain future. Meaning for the people living there, seeing loved ones just a day's walk away may still be a long way off. Patrick Chen and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Flights to and from the Italian island of Sicily are being disrupted by the massive volcanic eruption. Mount Etna, one of the most active volcanoes in the world, has seen a massive uptick in activity in recent days. Volcanic ash from its recent eruptions have caused a nearby international airport to divert flights. 3,330-meter high Etna is the tallest active volcano in Europe. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we take you to Argentina's glacier for the Winter Swimming World Cup. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching Taiwan Plus. For more stories from around the world, including the Solomon Islands, download the Taiwan Plus app.